It's a Quake.
Greetings, young kings and queens. A very warm welcome to It's a Quake podcast, which is proudly brought to you by the Namibia Media Trust. This is a very exciting platform where we, the youth of Namibia, take charge of our own growth and development by engaging industry leaders and experts to finding solutions to issues that affect us as young people. Now, my name is Aina Raiza Kweo, and I will be your hostess with the mostest for the fourth episode of It's a Quake. Now today I am not sitting by myself. I am joined by the lovely mental health activist LOIDE NAMPALA and the charming life coach FOREVERSUN HAIDUWAH. Now the three of us will be discussing the implications of COVID-19 on our mental health and wellness as young Namibians. FOREVERSUN, I absolutely love your name, right? It reminds me of a quote that I go by every day. It says, wherever you go, always bring your sunshine. It's very relevant to the conversation that we're going to have right now. Now, let's just start with our conversation. LOIDE, let's talk about your opinion on the implications of COVID-19 on our mental health and substance abuse.
Thank you very much for having me. My opinion on the implication of COVID-19 on the youth and substance abuse is that us as youth are living in a new reality that we are not used to. We are living in a reality that we are having homeschooling, working from home, and all this that's happening at the moment, which really affects a lot, especially the kids who are not going to school anymore, for they are now having to live with their abusers, which also makes them very sensitive and drains their mental health, because school was actually a safe space for them to engage with others and actually to build network and actually a sense of belonging. It really drains the youth at this moment. Continuing as the contraceptives, the lack of contraceptives, it's also really very difficult for the teens who are actually making use of it to minimize the teenage rate in our country as well. So there's no such thing of me saying, Chomi, there's nothing like that anymore. It's only about their depression and anxiety, about looking at different social media status and seeing how many facilities are closing and how many medicines are not there. Talking about marginalized communities and those living there, they don't have access to social media and stuff like that. I think it's also very difficult for them because, some areas they are, shebeens after shebeen. So it's very depressing, they won't actually also have time to study and they don't have access to these different social media information and stuff like that. So I think it's a very, very, very depressing and draining situation for the youth. Coming to our young adults, I'd say, I think for them, they are worried about their long-term futures. They are worried about, am I going to find a job in my long-term career? Where am I turning to? Restaurants are closing, companies are closing, what's happening now? And that hopelessness eventually creates suicidal thoughts, and eventually, since they are already in that space of home, it revolves self-harming. So eventually they will take tablets, they will take any given thing just to harm themselves, and at the end, that's the way suicide rates are going up and up and up, and then.
Now that you're talking about suicide among the young adults or just adults in Namibia, now according to stats published by the Namibian newspaper, and these are police stats, suicide has really attacked the northern region part of Namibia, with 90 incidents being reported from April 2020 to April 2021. Talk to us about your take on suicide prevalence amongst young people.
I think when it comes to young people, I would say in Black society itself, we don't talk about mental health. It's a hidden agenda itself. So I think for me, myself, let me give an example. I am a young adult. I suffer from anxiety and depression. For example, if I tell a friend I'm going to see my psychologist, people were like, oh, jy gaan op die plek toe.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know
The
that
stigma is
perception, the
real.
stigma is
Yeah.
very high. People don't want to talk about it. People don't want to be seen as a person suffering from anxiety or depression. They want to be hidden because they are scared of the, like, because I'm working with a lot of youth and a lot of mental health challenged people, and the complaints that they come is like, people always like, if you drop a glass, people will be like, it's a chupala gedrink.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
okay, much
I understand the
yeah, you see,
stigma.
the stigma is very high. So I think people don't talk about it. Eventually, it builds up and it piles up your mind. At the end of the day, when you're already like depressed at its most high, you just decide to, okay, ek maak jou vandag dood. So I think that's also the thing that's happening in today's society. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with everything that you've said. Now, according to a study in the United States, at least a third of COVID-19 survivors suffer from mental health issues. Now, FOREVERSUN, what do you think are some of the contributing factors to mental health distresses amongst us young people during this pandemic?
It's a quake.
It's a quake.
It's a quake.
It's a quake.
For instance, when it comes to young people, let's start with young people. Let me even go as further as kids that go to kindergarten.
Yeah.
I mean, they were so used to going to see their friends, you know, and if not to learn anything at all, just they're running around and playing with sand or whatever. So, and then that does not happen anymore because now the schools are closed. So eventually, that home play comes, you know, they now play at home and run up and down and breaking things, so forth. So that already in itself is a problem for the child.
Yeah.
That ought to have gone to school to interact or just pick up, you know, learn to speak or, you know, pick up other energies and whatnot as a way of discovering themselves. Then we talk about people or young people that go to high school.
Yeah.
They're not going to school anymore. In fact, there's created fear and anxiety in a sense that they are not even sure about, like LOIDE said, they're not sure about their future anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, one day you are at school and the next day you're not there, and you only go to school 3 times or twice a week. And just imagine you were not as academically gifted such as other kids.
Yeah.
Prior to COVID, and it was a struggle for you to catch up as a young person going to school, for example. And now, you're no longer going every day, so which means you're only going twice.
Yeah.
How would you learn? You know, how fast would you catch up?
Yes.
You
true.
know, it's gonna be very, very difficult for you to comprehend or learn and be educated as a young person, because then you're slow at, you know, learning and whatnot. Now that's from the other side, and the ones that are, you know, like smart and active and all that, then you wanna put them in a cage at home where they can't really express themselves. So eventually they will have to turn to something that is gonna get them have their energy up again.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about anxiety. Now, I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, I understand that there's a certain level of anxiety that is normal. It's normal to be anxious as young people, as human beings in general. Every one of us is due to experience some sort of anxiety. Now, my question to you is, when do I know that the level of anxiety that I have will require medical attention so that I can seek the necessary help?
All right. So let me just sort of bring in my understanding and the distinction between fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, fear is when you know about something, you know that COVID is here,
Yeah.
and that it is, you know, people died as a result of COVID. People are infected. You know, you can see it. You've probably experienced You've observed either on television or whatnot in your family somebody that's been buried due to COVID. That's fear of the known, right? Anxiety is when you're not sure of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're anxious at all the time.
Yeah.
We can't speak like this now. If I'm anxious, I must be worried and I must wear my mask, right?
Yes.
Irrespective of the fact that there is a space between us. Anxiety is, at any given point in time, you are sanitizing all the time. You're sanitizing the pen, you're sanitizing the cup, you're sanitizing their shoes, you're sanitizing your friends, you're sanitizing everybody.
But it's true.
Yeah, you are anxious because you don't know where it's gonna come from, how it's gonna get to you, and you being too cautious.
Yes.
And that's extreme. You know, you can't sanitize everything.
Yeah.
How much money do you have to buy sanitizers? You know, and I'm not saying to not sanitize. I'm saying that that's what anxiety does.
Yeah.
Anxiety gets you not to speak to anybody. You far from your relatives. You can't talk to anybody. You can't associate. You can't. It would even go to an extent of not even being able to record yourself in your room on a YouTube video or something. So that's what anxiety is. And that's what it has cost. So when you come to a point where
it's too much,
you're worried, you're scared, it creates, and you panicking because now you can't live anymore. You know, like you can't live your normal life anymore. Of course, it's a new normal. So then you would probably want to tune in and listen to what we've got to say and see somebody that can assist you, specialist or just anybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford specialists and psychologists, but you can talk to a friend. You can watch television from the constructive angle of how to deal with COVID-19, anxiety and fear and so forth.
Yeah. All right. Now, one of the major causes of depression is the fact that we are socially restricted right now, and particularly just to our homes, which is very weird. We are not used to that, right? So how can we manage, or how can we be socially connected to our friends and colleagues and relatives without violating the COVID-19 regulations?
Clubhouse.
I think we can maintain that, but as you said, we are not used to it. So it's kind of already triggering the anxiety and depression. So, for example, I live with my own grandfather. So he will be eventually, when I go out, so he already has also anxiety by his own. So I think how we can maintain it as a youth is by adhering to the regulations of the authority that they are giving us, and not actually focus and listening to what people has to say verbally, because some of them are very fake news. And we focus what you have and focus what you can do. Because at the moment you are seeing all this COVID news and stuff like that, and then you don't even concentrate on washing your hands anymore. You don't do what it's supposed to do to get right. Take a walk 30 minutes in the sun.
Yes.
There is awareness around the world.
Forever sun.
There is awareness around the world. Exercise. Let's adapt to the rules that we are advised to do, at least to boost our immune system. Like, for example, you see the trending of the vaccine. If you put a 10 cent here, it will automatically plug on your whatever. I think we should really adhere to the authorities' rule because I even think it's a good initiative that Honorable Ms. Emma Tuofila's brought up, but by involving the youth, if the youth actually go take their vaccines and tag her on Instagram, they will be able to win a tablet. I think those are initiatives we should concentrate on, initiatives that will help us think positive, initiatives that will help our elders. Elders are fearing, elders are dying, elders are just fearing because us youth, because we have the mindset that my immune system is net goed, kom, gaan sit nog by Chicago's, and as die police kom, da creep ons net weg. I think we are playing around that, which is still affecting our elders at the end of the day. Luckily, as myself, I'm just giving a testimony. I went to get my vaccine, also motivated by Ms. Emma to fellows, because I was also like, "Nee, ek sal gaan," but I never came to the point, but she motivated us as a youth as well. So I went to get my vaccine, and I thank her for the initiative, and luckily I also won a tablet, which also benefited me at the end. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I really encourage you to, let's focus what you have, because it doesn't help you actually just putting your mind on the negativity and we killing our youth and our elders and thinking you have the strongest immune system in the world.
Okay, I want us to do a short case study, right? One of the major causes, again, of depression is loneliness. Now, all of us here come from different parts of the country. I come from the north, somebody else come from the south, and so forth. Now, in rural areas of Namibia, some people don't have phones. They don't have smartphones, they don't have internet, they don't even have network. In some instances, you will find that there is no MTC tower in a village somewhere. Let's say there is Nangula. Nangula has no friends, neighbors they don't talk to, and she only has one grandmother in the north. How can Nangula kill this depression?
Yeah, I suppose Nangula doesn't have access to TV, right, and YouTube, hence they won't be able to.
No, Nangula does have access to those things because she's in town. So how can she kill the loneliness that is leading her into depression, to put it that way?
Is Nangula in town or in the village with grandmother?
Nangula is in town, but her family is in the village. So she doesn't have anyone with her. That's the question.
Oh, she's by herself.
But she's by herself,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
How can she kill this loneliness that is leading her into depression? Because she doesn't talk to her neighbors. She doesn't have anyone. The only person is her grandmother in the north. Everyone else dead and so forth.
Yo,
Yeah.
Nangula is in trouble.
Very much.
So I mean, that's just an example that we are using. So not to take it literal, I mean, anybody can be watching and just say something. It's just a scenario. So what we are saying is you have this person that's all by herself and she has nobody else to speak to. But lucky enough, she's at least connected to social media platforms, which I think at a certain extent would work. But human interaction, I think that's the key element that we kind of looking at now. Human interaction is very, very important. So hence, I would say friends, whoever is watching and you have somebody in a similar situation, call up on Nangula. You know, just call up on Nangula, drop by a house, because there's just no way a person can exist alone. Eventually, throughout her childhood, up until wherever she is in life, she's been with people. And not all of them are victims of COVID-19. Not all of them has passed on. So, which means the friends that could then be watching and you have somebody in a similar scenario, call up on the person, just find out how you're doing. And I've done that practically for my neighbor. I didn't even know what was happening, and he told me this is what's happening. So every day I tried to always call to just find out how you're doing and so forth. And at the same time, if possible, I mean, what COVID has also done, inverted commas, right, it has taught us to care for one another. So which means that whoever is watching now and you have access or you do know the relatives, you do know the grandmother to Nangula, you have relatives in the north, reach out, go to the grandmother, you know, get them to connect. Here you phone, very Oma like met Nangula gesels. You understand? So the natural human interaction is important, and then going again back to the core of Ubuntu, the principles of Ubuntu, being one, being and not being isolated. Look, COVID is not the end of the world. That's one thing that we need to understand. And we've survived before other diseases, other pandemics that have come and gone. Ebola was one of them, right? So we cannot live like we are finished. We are not done. It's not over yet.
Strength and courage, yes.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't take precaution, but I'm saying that it's not done.
Yeah.
So, and it's sad to say, but some people die of fear, not COVID.
Yeah, true.
You know, fear. Heart attack.
Yes.
You just you have a
shuts
cough.
down.
You have a
Yeah,
cough.
yeah.
No, I've got COVID. Boss, did you check?
Yeah.
You know, and also, can we also focus on the survivors?
Yeah.
Can our media houses put success stories of victims of COVID that have been able to recover?
Yeah.
Can we, maximize that or make it bigger than the negativity that is all that's happening?
I understand where
You
you're
get what I'm
coming
saying?
from,
Yeah, so Nangula, there is hope.
Then Angola, there is definitely so much hope. Now, I want you to just stretch a little bit on how we can prevent mental health distresses. I know you touched on it earlier, but maybe just stretch it and expand it a little bit more for our audience who might not have gotten what you've said.
Right. Number one, and I'm speaking from a life coach, motivational speaker point of view. Number one, you exist for a purpose. And mental health related consequences, it's no longer called illnesses. It's nowhere in your purpose of existence. In your purpose of existence as a person, the reason of your existence, there was not that mental health is one contributing factor for you to realize your potential.
Okay.
Or to maximize your potential and realize your dreams.
Okay.
What I'm getting to is you exist for a reason. Your reason must be your motivating factor. Say, for example, I'm a life coach and motivational speaker. When COVID came, I was not able to speak for large audience and generate capital, just like musicians.
Yes.
It's an example. Does that mean that my purpose of existence, should it be motivational speaking, has come to an end? And I'm answering the question of how to not get COVID to affect you mentally and depress you. So what I realized is that my purpose is still motivational speaking, number one. Number two, the government tells us what to do. Sanitize your hands, take precaution.
Yeah.
And then number three, there are other alternatives of still being the motivational speaker without necessarily standing in front of people.
Yes, using platforms such as social media,
yes,
etc.
social media platforms and all that. So already, for me, I think that's the core. You need to understand that you exist for a purpose, and your purpose, your reason of existence, or whatever, in simple terms, what makes you happy. Because sometimes the question is, what is my purpose of existence? It's not that complex.
Yeah.
It's what makes you happy, right? What makes you happy is the number one thing that you need to focus on, right? And do that. If you can't do it, if swimming was what made you happy and you can't go to the pool anymore, then you probably need to figure out something else to do that is within the regulations that would still get you excited.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I should end there for now.
All right. Now, the media has been a buzz lately. So many headlines, from grasping for air to Namibia runs out of first vaccine doses, and it really triggers a lot of fear amongst people. Even on social media, so many conspiracy theories. Every time I go on WhatsApp, all I see is RIP, RIP, RIP. What is your advice to people who are triggered by the media and social media at large?
I would really agree with you. It's very overwhelming for those who have mental health challenges at the moment and don't have. So these videos and stuff, it's already triggering and already raising people's anxiety and depression. So my advice for youth out there is to refrain yourself from some social media platforms. You have stuff where you can mute. Yes. You can mute those WhatsApp texts. You can mute those videos. In fact, there is also fact check. Check if it's correct. just to make sure that this information is real or not. And sometimes this information is so fake, your anxiety runs that you are running the whole house full. Hanakam, it was net opgemaakte ding. Yeah, so I think people should really fact check and they should refrain themselves from some media platforms. That's my advice I can give to some youth out there. Yeah.
Sister, take us to church. I absolutely agree with everything that you said. Now, FOREVERSUN, what for people who are going through mental health distresses, what interventions are available to them, and how can they access them? I want your answer to particularly be inclusive of our cousins in the villages. How can they access these interventions?
Right. I think one, it's good you switched on, whoever is watching. So hence you can then comment and just ask for you to receive NGOs or institutions contact details that deal specifically with mental health related. But in general, first of all, if you see something that's unusual with how you normally would live your life, and you recognize that, I'm just being a little bit strange to myself. You waking up late, perhaps, or you just being different from the normal you. Yeah. That could probably be a sign, and not everybody waking up late is a sign. But I'm just saying, the first thing that you want to do as an individual that's watching is you want to first diagnose yourself, inverted commas, by checking for those patterns that are not common, that you're picking up. And then once you have that, then the basic you can do is talk to someone. Yeah. You don't need to go to an institution unless you're privileged to have access to an institution. But talking to somebody, right? Going for a jog, watching comedy as an example, just start with those basics, but most importantly, just talk to someone. Talk to someone to say, look, there's this, I'm being different, okay? And I don't know what it is, but I think the contributing factors, you don't have to be precise. The contributing factors are A, B, C, and D, all right? And then eventually, if friends around you or people around you pick up a difference in the way you live your life as well, reach out to the person and ask the person, okay, what's happening? Yeah. Are you okay? I think the same. Other than that, I think speaking under correction, there are other organizations that really are dealing with mental health. I think if I'm not mistaken, Lifeline Childline is one organization that you can reach that could help in that regard. Yeah. We are currently, and as I say, I'm talking about Star for Life, currently releasing videos that going on to WhatsApp messages, and this is credited information. Yeah. It's not fake stuff that is going even on national television with all other stakeholders and UN agencies about this whole conversation about mental health and fear and anxiety with COVID-19. Yeah. So those are the basics that you can literally do to find help.
And just to add on what you say, at the Central Hospital in Windhoek, if you are experiencing any mental health distresses, it's free on Monday and Wednesday. You can go in and speak to a professional. I think also for our sisters and cousins in the North, I think it's important that maybe traditional media disseminate this information to them, right? So this conversation has really been fruitful, and I thank you very much for being here. Any final words from you guys?
Yeah, switch off the TV. Just switch it off. If it's affecting your mind, then it's all negative. Switch it off. Switch it off. That's my final word.
And from you, LOIDE?
As I said, focus on what you have and what you can do. As I said, walk the 30-minute walk, boost your immune system, and listen to your authorities. Gaan vat daai jep en raak gesond.
Wow. I actually would also just like to reiterate the importance of physical exercise when you're having mental health distresses. I think it's a very important. I personally work out and it lifts the load off you. I think it's very important. And on that note, I'd just like to highlight also the importance of taking care of your own mental health, being kinder to one another, and of course just lending a helping hand. I know kindness really goes a long way, and I would personally like to tell you that you are not alone and that joy comes in the morning. Your ability to overcome is your superpower. You are here right now in this very moment, and you are equally profoundly worthy. Thank you very much, LOIDE, NAMPALA, and FOREVERSUN HAIDUWAH for joining me on this fourth podcast of It's a Quake. As for you, my darling, keep the conversation going on social media. We are on Twitter. You use the hashtag YouthQuakeNam, and on Instagram, we are at YouthQuakeNam. And from me, Aina Raiza Koyo, it's all my love and all my light.
It's a quake.